Namaskar, Jai Shri Krishna, enlightening text 25 and text 26-29 of chapter 5, the cause of all causes of second canto, the cosmic manifestation of Srimad Bhagavatam. Text 25. Tam sadapi bhutader vikurvanad bhun labhah tasya matra gunah shabdo lingam yad drashtru drushayoh. From the darkness of false ego, the first of the five elements, namely the sky, is generated. Its subtle form is the quality of sound, exactly as the seer is in relationship with the seen. The five elements, namely sky, air, fire, water and earth, are all but different qualities of the darkness of false ego. This means that the false ego is the sum total form of Mahat Tattva, is generated from the marginal potency of the Lord, and due to this false ego of lording it over the material creation, ingredients are generated for the false enjoyment of the living being. The living being is practically the dominating factor over the material elements as the enjoyer, though the background is the Supreme Lord. Factually, save and except the Lord, no one can be called the enjoyer, but the living entity falsely desires to become the enjoyer. This is the origin of false ego. When the bewildered living being desires this, the shadow elements are generated by the will of the Lord and the living entities are allowed to run after them as after a phantasmagoria. It is said that first the tan matra sound is created and then the sky, and in this verse it is confirmed that actually it is so, but sound is the subtle form of the sky, and the distinction is like that between the seer and the seen. The sound is the representation of the actual object, as the sound produced, speaking of the object, gives an idea of the description of the object. Therefore, sound is the subtle characteristic of the object. Similarly, sound representation of the Lord in terms of his characteristics is the complete form of the Lord, as was seen by Vasudevaya and Maharaj Dashrath, the fathers of Lord Krishna and Lord Rama. The sound representation of the Lord is not different from the Lord himself, because the Lord and his representation in sound are absolute knowledge. Lord Chaitanya has instructed us that in the holy name of the Lord, as sound representation of the Lord, all the potencies of the Lord are invested. Thus one can immediately enjoy the association of the Lord by the pure vibration of the sound representation of his holy name, and the concept of the Lord is immediately manifested before the pure devotee. A pure devotee, therefore, is not aloof from the Lord even for a moment. The holy name of the Lord, as recommended in the Shastras, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, may therefore be constantly chanted by the devotee aspiring to be constantly in touch with the Supreme Lord. One who is thus able to associate with the Lord is sure to be delivered from the darkness of the created world, which is a product of false ego. Tamasi ma Jyotirgama. Text 26-29. Nabhaso atha vikurvanad bhut sparsha guno anilah paran vayach chabda vamshacha prana ojah sahobalam vayorapi vikurvanad kalakarma svabhavatah udapadyata tejo vai रूपवत स्पर्श शब्दवत तेजस्तु विगुरवाणा दासीदंभो रसात्मकम रूपवत स्पर्शवच चांभो घोषवच च परान्वयात् विशेषस्तु विगुरवाणा दंभसो गंधवान भूत परान्वयात् रसस्पर्श शब्द रूप गुणान्वितः. Because the sky is transformed, the air is generated with the quality of touch, and by previous succession the air is also full of sound and the basic principles of duration of life, sense perception, mental power and bodily strength. When the air is transformed in course of time and nature's course, fire is generated taking shape with a sense of touch and sound. Since fire is also transformed, there is a manifestation of water full of juice and taste. As previously, it also has form and touch and is also full of sound. and water being transformed from all variegatedness of earth appears odorous and as previously becomes qualitatively full of juice, touch, sound and form respectively. The whole process of creation is an act of gradual evolution and development from one element to another, reaching up to the variegatedness of the earth as so many trees, plants, mountains, rivers, reptiles, birds, animals and varieties of human beings. The quality of sense perception is also evolutionary, namely generated from sound, then touch, and from touch to form. Taste and odor are also generated along with the gradual development of sky, air, fire, water and earth. They are all mutually the cause and effect of one another, but the original cause is the Lord himself in plenary portion as Mahavishnu in the causal water of the Mahatattva. As such, Lord Krishna is described in the Brahma Samhita as the cause of all causes, and this is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 10.8 as follows. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matah sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhav samanvitaha. The qualities of sense perception are fully represented in the earth and they are manifested in other elements to a lesser extent. In the sky, there is sound only, whereas in the air, there are sound and touch. In the fire, there are sound, touch and shape, and in the water, there is taste also along with the other perceptions, namely sound, touch and shape. In the earth, however, there are all the given mentioned qualities with an extra development of odor also. Therefore, on the earth, there is a full display of variegatedness of life which is originally started with the basic principle of air. Diseases of the body take place due to derangement of air within the earthly body of the living beings. Mental diseases result from special derangement of the air within the body, and as such, yogic exercise is especially beneficial to keep the air in order so that diseases of the body become almost nil by such exercises. When they are properly done, the duration of life also increases and one can have control over death also by such practices. A perfect yogi can have command over death and quit the body at the right moment, when he is competent to transfer himself to a suitable planet. The Bhakti Yogi, however, surpasses all the yogis because by dint of his devotional service, he is promoted to the region beyond the material sky and is placed in one of the planets in the spiritual sky by the supreme will of the Lord, the controller of everything. Hare Krishna.